Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 2021 International Women's Day celebration, brought to you by SowHope.org. SowHope celebrates International Women's Day, which falls on March 8 every year. Last year, we celebrated International Women's Day, and the very next week, the COVID-19 shutdowns began. In different regions of the world, the general focus of International Women's Day is often a celebration of respect, appreciation, and love towards women to celebrate women's cultural, economic, political, and social achievements. In some regions, the day is an occasion for men to express their love for women in a way somewhat similar to a mixture of Mother's Day and Valentine's Day. Many countries celebrate the day as a national holiday with parades and other public festivities and the wearing of purple ribbons. The idea of an International Women's Day was first introduced in 1910 in Copenhagen at the Second International Conference of Working Women. The conference was attended by over 100 women from 17 countries. They proposed that every year in every country, there should be a celebration on the same day, a Women's Day. The suggestion was unanimously approved, and the next year, International Women's Day was honored for the first time on March 19, when over 1 million women and men rallied for women's rights to work for pay, vote, be trained, hold public office, and to end discrimination. In 1913, International Women's Day was transferred to March 8th and has remained the global date for International Women's Day ever since. In the US, the whole month of March is now designated as Women's History Month. For many years, the UN has held annual International Women's Day conferences with strong social awareness themes, such as ending violence against women, ending poverty and hunger, uniting for peace, and empowering women educationally and economically. This year's theme is Women in Leadership, Achieving an Equal Future in a COVID-19 World. And at internationalwomensday.com, the 2021 theme is Choose to Challenge and is marked by the hashtag Choose to Challenge, with a raised hand showing your willingness to choose to challenge the status quo of women and to step up to face the challenges of helping women have a more equitable existence. At SowHope, we also raise our hand to accept the challenge of giving women opportunities to thrive in this world. SowHope started in 2006, and our mission is to inspire women around the world by promoting wellness, education, and economic opportunities. Our target group is the women of half the world's population that lives in poverty, described as living on $2.70 a day or less. That's nearly 1.5 billion women. Our strategy is to find local leaders solving local problems using local solutions. We find people who are already helping women and then partner with them by funding projects they submit to us that meet and fit the local women they serve. Today, we're going to hear from some of our partners in the developing world who have also chosen to take the challenge of uplifting women, especially during COVID. You will hear some impressive and inspiring things today from some amazing leaders who have made a big difference, especially during the pandemic this past year. First, let me introduce you to some of our partners. Why don't each of you say your name and what country you're from?
I'm Josephine from Kenya, and I love SowHope.
Hello, I'm Rhoda from South Sudan. I'm happy to be with you here today, and it's my joy to see you and also to share with you.
Hi, I'm Jyoti from Nepal.
Hi, I'm Sarah Negari from Nigeria.
Hi, I'm Rahila Adamas from Nigeria.
Hi, I'm Ladi Bauchi from Nigeria.
Hi, I'm Deborah Victor from Nigeria.
Hello, I'm Victoria from Sierra Leone.
Great. It's wonderful to have all of you here. So let's start with the first question. What kinds of challenges did women face in your area this past year because of COVID? Josephine from Kenya, would you start?
One of the challenges I have faced because of COVID-19 in 2020 is because the people or the women we normally work with, they live in different places. And we have to go to them so that we get what they are producing and then sell to another group in another place. So it calls for traveling, from one place to another. And when we are going to get these products, they are produced by women in a group. So when COVID-19 came, the women could not work as a group because of the social distancing. We could not travel because of the transmission. We lack this fellowship, and the exchange of food, or getting food from one place to go and sell to another place, is a challenge.
Okay, thank you, Josephine. Sarah, let's hear from you about some of the challenges you faced in Nigeria in 2020 from COVID-19.
Here in Nigeria, here where we are, we really suffered the pandemic. Corona affected us greatly. Almost all of us, our families, our children, wives, sisters, extended families suffered. Aside from the pandemic, we have other problems like Boko Haram attacking us, herdsmen attacking us in the farms. You cannot go to the farm. They are there, they restrict your movement. You can't go to look for firewood. You can't go to see your farm. If you are a woman, you are raped. They might even kill you, unless if you're able to escape. Aside from that, we suffered a lot out of poverty. You know, movement was restricted because of the corona. So movement was restricted. You cannot go anywhere. You cannot make anything to go and sell. And so we stayed at home and suffered greatly. But aside from the pandemic, we suffered issues like drought because the rain stopped earlier. And when there was rainfall, it was just for a short period of time. It was intense so that there was flood. Some of our farms were washed away. So aside from the pandemic, we suffered the attacks from the Fulani herders. They destroyed our crops. Most of the farms were eaten up by the animals, by the cows. So we suffered greatly this year. Poverty was there. The attackers were there. The drought was there, flood was there. Life was not easy, really.
Okay. What were some of the consequences of all those problems?
Well, food became short. There's no food. And you know, so many people are killed. So many people are now so quiet, sad, frustrated. Life is just not happy again. It's not peaceful. In fact, even up to now, so many people are not going to the farm again.
Sarah, I'm sorry, we had a little technical difficulty. You were talking about why women couldn't go to the farm. Would you continue that thought? And would you also add any other consequences that the challenges you've been facing this past year, what some of those might be?
I was saying because of the attack from the Fulani herders or from the kidnappers, women are not finding it easy to go to the farms. We are afraid of being raped. We are afraid of being kidnapped. And this is what has been happening to us. So also another consequence is the fact that because of the drought, we don't have enough food now. Most of the crops were dried up, especially beans, which was supposed to come at the later part of the year. Beans, there's not much beans here, so it becomes very, very expensive. And also because of the flood, rice was washed away. We have very little rice now around us to eat. And also, you know, during the pandemic, the first part of the year, the borders were closed. So no importation of goods coming in. And here the drought was there, the flood was there, food was scarce. And even now, things are scarce. Things are not easy for us.
Wow, I'm really sorry to hear about that, Sarah. Is there any other problem that you wanted to share with us about what's going on there?
Another problem is the fact that so many people died out of hunger. There was no food. People are locked inside the houses, nothing to eat, nobody to provide. Even if you have a relative, there's no way they can go to you and give you food to eat. And so in your rooms, you stay alone, nothing to eat. And so you fall sick and die alone.
There are so many people dying. Even near my house, there is somebody that just fall down and died because of he was thinking of how to provide food for his family. So there was no way then Suddenly he just fall down and then died.
For our side, somebody hang himself and died, kill himself.
He was worried about the pandemic, and so he just felt he could not take care of his family. He could not help himself. He was sick. He hung himself, and that's how he died. Just frustrated.
Wow, that's very serious, and sorry to hear what's going on in Nigeria. But I want to thank you, ladies, for sharing. Rhoda, would you like to share some of the challenges that you are facing in South Sudan in 2020 because of COVID-19?
Yes, the four women, especially the most vulnerable women, faces the economics issue. There was no money, business was shut down, and there was a ban of gathering, so they could not even do their businesses. So there was no money, and also paying school fees was a challenge. Medication also became a challenge. And the worst thing was hunger. Many people are really starving a lot because the flood, which are happen in South Sudan, also make, especially in Bor, make it worse because the little which they gathered, which they produce, also was swept away by flood. So people went on now, majority are like begging, and whatever they have is not enough at all. So people are dying of hunger.
What did the flood do to the crops and things like that the women were growing? What happened?
Yes, the floods really destroyed the harvest. At first time they planted and it flooded, so it didn't work. At the second time also they tried to move a bit on the ground where there was no flood, but the flood also reaches the place. So there was no harvest. It destroyed the harvest at all. So they could not harvest anything. So this year there's no good harvest at all. And the flood also destroyed the businesses which were moving around because people could not move with goods. They are this lockdown, so the things are not coming in. And also with the flood, there's no mobility. So it's also transport become a challenge. So even if you have a little hope to move to other places to do business, also transport is a big challenge.
Why is transport a big challenge in South Sudan? What's the problem?
The transport is a big challenge in South Sudan. Number one is the roads. The roads, there are no good roads. So in fact, people are using like forest only, bush. There are no roads. So the cars are just moving, and also those roads, the cars that are coming in get stuck. Also, number two, there's these people who are using the boat. And the boat also on the way to take a lot of time, and also there are the rivers also have this big, I don't know how they call them, these things like pipers, they lock the road. So, and a bit of insecurity also.
So insecurity in what way? Do you mean like robbers?
Yes, like robbers. Some people attack.
Okay, Jyoti. So what kind of challenges do women in your area in Nepal face because of COVID?
Most of the women, they lost their jobs. They could not go to work. So because of that, most of the people are staying in rent. They are paying rent and hiring the rooms and hiring the apartment. When they lost their job, they could not pay the rent. That was big challenge. And they had the shortage of food. They could not send their children to school. And so many frustration among the family. It was really a bad situation.
Okay. So were people going hungry?
Somewhere.
Can you describe that a little bit? How was that?
We saw many families because of the pandemic, they lost their job, and they were going through hunger, and they could not share it to their friends, or because they thought everyone is suffering like them. So we saw many difficulties among the children and the people who shifted to a town to work or to study. They could not travel back to their hometown and village. If they couldn't go, and they might have something to live, but they are staying in the cities and towns, and they don't have any resources after losing their job. It's a really hard time.
Thank you, Joyty. Victoria, would you please share with us some of the challenges you faced in Sierra Leone?
There are numerous, but chief among them is abuse, sexual exploitation, violence. There were spikes in sexual exploitation, physical, as well as economic exploitation, and also greater burden of domestic and child care abuse, and also increased risk of teenage pregnancy for the girls, most especially that are going to school, because there were no schooling. So they were at home most of the time. So because of that, they were at risk of being pregnant. The girls get pregnant due to exploitation. They need money. They need support. So if there is somebody that could lure them with money, obviously they fall for it. At other times, they are raped. So that's another form of abuse that they face. So because of that, they get pregnant.
Wow. Okay. Do you think these challenges were greater because of COVID?
To a larger extent, yes. Because are they being in school for the girls, and for the women, are the men they are staying with gone to work or go about their normal businesses, they will not have been abused. So most of these women, they are given to men that do not love them. Sometimes as a result of them being impregnated. So it's like they just go to the men, or the families shift the burdens on the men. So now that the men and the women were stuck alone and they are not in love, so every excuse that the men have, they will just pounce on the women and abuse them. And also the burden of not having to go to work and not getting money to finance the household also pose a challenge to these men. So it's a vice versa. Yeah. The women were being abused, and the pressure of not being able to go out at the time also pose a burden on the men as well. Yeah, domestic violence or violence against women had been a problem before. But now that the COVID is here, it has increased.
Okay. And then the next question is the problem of violence even greater than COVID itself? Would you say that?
To a larger extent, yeah, to some extent, yes, because COVID, we all know it will go away someday. We don't know when. But violence against women has been on for some time now, and it is still happening. It's still happening everywhere, in spite of the people themselves, in spite of the economic status of the women. It has been there. And sometimes most of the women do not talk about it for fear of being laughed at. So women suffer abuse in silence. Some women do suffer abuse in silence. It's only a few women that will come out and tell their stories. And even as at that, they are being frowned upon, because the traditional African setting has made us to be patient and not talk about those things that are bothering us. So it's actually killing women. That's why sometimes most of the women, they go to sleep and do not wake up, because they cannot talk about what is bothering them. They die out of not having to unburden themselves to people, because it's like a taboo. It's a shame for you to go about talking about what has transpired between you and your spouses. It takes a woman with guts to explain in details what she is enduring or what she has endured. So because they just keep everything inside, everything is locked up, they cannot bear it any longer. So most of the time, these women suffer heart attacks, they suffer high blood pressure. At the end of the day, the result is death.
It certainly does take a woman with guts to stand up to that kind of pressure. Thank you, Victoria, for sharing that. And now I'm going to move on to the next question. How do you find the courage to face the challenges? Let's start with you, Joyty.
I believe like everything will be normal after some period of time. It will not last like sometimes happiness comes, sometimes sad thing comes, difficulties come, but it does not stay forever. So we need to be hopeful and we need to be positive for every situation. Sometimes the hard thing comes even for the good in the future, to learn some lessons in our lives, to learn a good way of our living, to change our lifestyle. So sometimes
Excellent.
we need to change our profession.
Thank you, Joyty. What about you, Josephine? What inspires you?
What inspires me most is when we see people who have lost dignity. They don't recognize resources within them and the potentiality within them. When we are helped go and train them, they start discovering that they are people with resources. And when they use those resources within them, they can help other people. Instead of going seek for help, they utilize the skills we impart when we train them, and they realize the people of dignity.
Okay, Sarah, how do you find the courage to face all your challenges?
Well, Mary, we actually depend on God. We've been praying. We've been trying to help one another. The little you have, those near you, you try to help them. They also try to help you with what they have. And some of us that have skills to teach how to empower the women, the little you know how to, like making snacks, you make it just by the door of your house there, the front of your house. If you can make something, somebody that has some money will come and buy. And to tell you honestly, the assistance you have been giving us is what sustains us and our projects and the community at large. The money you have been giving us, even the money you gave us as palliative, is the only thing we got from around us here. And actually we use that to support each other's around. We pass the little we have around to each other. And that's how we've been sustaining each other's. Coupled with the prayers, we pray together and then encouraging each other to stand firm, believing that God is in control. That's how we sustain ourselves through this. In fact, we're still suffering, but that's what we're still doing. Still holding on together, encouraging each other, even though some of us are in other states. So that's how we have been sustaining one another. Most of all is prayers and depending on God.
Wow. What about you, Victoria? How do you find the courage to face your challenges?
Well, I'm a survivor. So I've been there, I know what it means. And true, it has been God that has been seeing me throughout all this, He's the sustainer of life. He's the provider of every good thing. And I know that He is able to do good things for me. And looking up to Him gives me the courage to do the things that I do. Because if He has seen me thus far, He will be able to see me through all of this, especially working with vulnerable women.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. So what inspires you to do the work for women?
To never again allow what happened to me to allow to the other women. I am a survivor of child marriage. So I wouldn't want that to happen to other women at all. So seeing them happy, seeing them maximizing their potentials inspires me to do the work that I do with them and for them.
Wow, good for you. How do you stay hopeful in the midst of all this hardship?
It has been God, as I said earlier. I believe in God because God has been my provider. He has been my source of support. For everything, I just commit to Him. So He's been there. Through thick and thin, it has been God. It will be God, it is God, and it is still God.
Amen. So what keeps you smiling? What gives you joy?
Seeing the women happy, seeing the girl child happy, this gives me joy because I know that I've helped them to enhance their potentials. When you cannot finish school, when you cannot attain that level of education you wanted, but you have the ability to do so, but because there is no money, you cannot. And so because of that, you always feel, how do I put this now? You always feel not being able to perform, you know. There are children who are in that situation. There are women who are in that situation. There are women who want to climb high up the ladder of success, but because nobody is there to propel them, they're just there stuck. So helping these women to overcome most of these obstacles has helped me a greatly deal also.
Wow. Wow. That's wonderful. Okay, we're going to move on to the last question. What do you want people around the world to celebrate on International Women's Day? Sarah, why don't you start?
I really want the world to know that women are hardworking. Women are up and doing. What they need is support. What they need is, encouragement. What women need is around us. They need love. They need protection. They need guidance. And I want us to celebrate the fact that we want women to be able to voice out their opinions. We want women to be allowed to lead. We want women to be allowed to be in political positions. We want women to be lecturers. I want them to celebrate women as lawyers, baristas, doctors. I want women celebrated as soldier women that can fight even in the war. So Women's Day should really celebrate the success of women. In fact, we want women to be presidents, vice presidents. We want women to be registered. We want women to be all over the place where they can serve God, serve humanity, serve their families as well. And we want women to be happy wherever they are. This is to be celebrated everywhere. Thanking God that God has made these women to be women that are women of virtue like the men. So we want to know that we share equal rights wherever we should be with men. And so let the men carry us alone. But let the men put us there up on the seat where we can also serve. This should be celebrated, that women can do what men can do even better.
Wow, that was really good. Thank you. That was great.
Of course, Mary, we have women that already are doing very well. Look at there in your own country itself. We now have a vice president as a woman. How about if we can have that in Nigeria? I think that's a step forward.
We'll be happy.
I said we want women's voices to be heard. Yeah? We want women's voices to be heard. We want women to be in positions of leadership. We want women to be driving big cars. We want women to own mansions of their own where they are deprived, where they are denied. We want them to have what is supposed to be theirs. Okay? And I believe women will do better than men, given a big mansion to maintain, given a big office like the governor's office to maintain. I think women, given the opportunity, they will do better.
They will do better than the men.
Because they are more caring, more careful, more loving, and more serious and hardworking. So giving the chance for women, and if you celebrate women in that capacity, the whole world will change. There will be peace, there will be joy.
Well, we could sure all use a lot more joy and peace, couldn't we? Joyty, what about you? What do you want people to celebrate for International Women's Day?
Women make the family, and if women are empowered, our family empowered, society or church or the nation empowered. So women should be empowered. So they should have the opportunity for the life skills or training or sustainable development things, so that they can live in any kind of situation, and the world should know about it. The women should be empowered all the time.
Good. Thank you. Rhoda, what about you?
Yes, what I want the people around the world to celebrate about the women is that women are heroes of change. They are tool of change. And the women are mothers. At the same time, they are the breadwinners. At the same time, they are like peacemakers. So they unite people together. Women are not involved in the fighting. It's like when you see tribal clashes, women are not there. They are the peacemakers. So, and they are also every day working for the better change for the community, for the common good of the community. So I want the world to celebrate a woman is a hero, and somebody will, like when they say, if you educate a woman, when you educate a woman, you educate the whole world. So that is the thing that it's like, if you empower a woman, you empower the whole world, you empower the whole community, because the change that they do, they help others.
And Victoria, what would you like people around the world to celebrate about women, especially the women you serve on International Women's Day?
Well, for us in Sierra Leone, I want the people around the world to celebrate our women for being resilient. We are resilient women. Through thick and thin, we are hopeful. In spite of everything, in spite of every challenge, we are soaring. So I want people around the world to celebrate us as resilient women.
Thank you, Victoria.
That's welcome.
Okay. I want to thank all our panelists who did such a great job of sharing from their hearts the challenges women face, the courage it takes to face those challenges, and the reason to celebrate of women around the world. Well done, panelists. You inspire us all. Well, that concludes our online event for International Women's Day as we near the end of one full year of COVID-19. You can see how the pandemic has affected everyone around the world. As we heard today from our esteemed panel, that women in the developing world have really suffered, but they are also a source of the solution. So let's celebrate the ending of the pandemic, and let's celebrate the women of the world. See you next year. Happy International Women's Day. Mary Daly Brown, President of SowHope, signing off.